So this is a new series that I thought about doing. The idea behind it was to talk about some albums I used to listen to back in the 90s. Albums that didn't get a lot of attention. So I won't be talking about big name bands unless they happen to release an album where I felt was overlooked. I'm going to be doing one video per year, including 5 albums per year. So that's going to be 10 videos. If the series does well, I can always circle back and do another 10. Also, I divided the video into chapters. Feel free to skip around to the band you want to hear about. So today I'll be talking about 5 albums released in the year 1992. The first one is Rollins' band, The End of Silence. Now this is the 5th album by the Rollins band. This was fronted by Henry Rollins from the punk rock band Black Flag. This was an alternative metal band. It reminded me kind of like Helmet or like Rage Against the Machine, but without the rapping, of course, with Henry Rollins doing these aggressive vocals. On this album cover, you can see right here that like sun pictures, like the one tattooed on Henry Rollins' back. So this was released on February 25th, 1992, recorded in October 1991. And it's a long album. It's like over an hour long. Released on the Imago Records label, produced by Andy Wallace. So, my favorite songs, I'll pick 2 songs. Low Self Opinion, that was one of the singles, but it's such a great song. It has those like stop-start riffs. And it's about like a person with kind of like low self-esteem who, doesn't look, he sleeps alone at night, and then like he's like very bitter. He's always playing the victim. And then just Henry Rollins he's kind of like this like motivational speaker, and it's just kind of really great. And the next one I chose was called Tearing, another one of the singles. Just a great lyrics, tearing me apart, tearing you apart. This is kind of similar to that song Liar he would have. It's harder to be with you. I'm a liar with my pants on fire, tearing myself apart. Those are some of the lyrics. So again, this is just alternative metal. It's similar to like bands like Helmet. Really great stuff. Next is Saigon Kick with the Lizard. This one released on June 2nd, 1992. And this is their second album. And the label was Third Stone and Atlantic, and produced by Jason Bieler, who was also like the frontman of the band. So this is a band that got lumped into like the whole like glam metal scene. They're not really glam. They're kind of like very heavy, almost thrashy, but they have a lot of like great vocals and a lot of like kind of Beatles-esque harmony. So I think that really made them stand out. They're very original. They're heavy, but they're known for that one ballad, which was on this album. It was a hit called "Love Is on the Way." You probably know it. It's just an acoustic song. Love is on the way. I can see it in your eyes. So that song. But then other great ones are like, for example, like the Peppermint Tribe is just like a heavier song. These like crunchy riffs and really great chorus in that one. And then some like other more laid back stuff like God of 42nd Street. That one has more like acoustic guitars. Really good song, more of like a hard rock or classic rock song. So it was a band they kind of like did lots of different things. Like on the next album, Water, they would like even like be more experimental. But this is a fairly heavy album. There's lots of heavy riffs here. So this one's great. Next, Biohazard, Urban Discipline. So this is the second studio album by this band, Biohazard. They were a hardcore band. And they incorporated like rap. They were like one of the first bands to kind of do like that rap metal. But it's mostly like thrash, hardcore. But there are like rap elements. It's not like Kid Rock, something like that. It's definitely like a really like heavy band. So favorite songs, Punishment. Just lots of just heavy riff. It's just like these lyrics are great. These are just kind of like a lot of these like street lyrics. Like, I guess that's how I could describe them. The other song I like, Shades of Grey. That was one of the singles. Another one was just like the really heavy sounds, just pounding drums, and like the really aggressive vocals, but it does incorporate some of that rap into it. And another deep cut I liked was called "Mistaken Identity," and this one is kind of like about like being like falsely accused and going to prison. So I'll read some of the lyrics. Looking through these bars and wondering why I'm here, accused of a crime I did not commit, and the police make nothing clear. This is all about people being falsely accused. So that one stood out for me. I thought that was a really good song. Next album I'm going to talk about is Extreme, Three Sides to Every Story. So this band Extreme, another band, they were kind of like thrown into that whole glam metal scene, but they were kind of like more like a funk metal. They had that component about the band. They were very successful at one point with that Porno Graffiti album. That one, it had the big hit More Than Words, and really great guitarist Nuno Betancourt. He was like the star of this album. Gary Sharon, another great vocalist. He was in Van Halen for like one album, and which was not a very popular album. But this lineup actually kind of like this was the original lineup in the last album with this lineup. For example, Paul Geary left and was replaced by Mike Mangini. So lots of great songs. I like Rest in Peace. This one I like one of the singles, but it has like these great like Hendrix types of like guitar riffs. I like that. Peacemaker Die. Another one. They are just talking more about like race. It includes an interlude from Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech. And in general, this album is a little more political. Like if you go back to the first album, the lyrics are like very like seem like they were like written like by a 12-year-old. They were like very basic, but these lyrics are really good, more political, more current events. And the other song I want to mention is called Tragic Comment. It's kind of like acoustic, almost like a Nirvana kind of song. And this is them kind of going into that grunge direction, which they would do in their album right after this, which is Waiting for the Punchline. But really cool, like acoustic strumming and these acoustic grunge riffs by Nuno Betancourt. A really good song. And I'm going to do one more. And it is Nirvana with Incesticide. This is a B-sides compilation, and I'm choosing this because I think it gets overlooked a lot. It's an album I used to listen to all the time. I don't know if they call it an EP. It's 45 minutes long, so I'll call it an album, but it just has a few like original songs that were never released. So, for example, Hairspray Queen, Aero Zeppelin, and Big Long Now. Those are like really good songs that kind of have a sound going back to that like Bleach album, that type of like sound, very like alternative, lots of feedback, lots of noise. And then they have some other like alternate versions like Bin of Sun, Polly, which is like more of like an electric version, and Aneurysm, which is a B-side to Smells Like Teen Spirit, and then this version was recorded on BBC Radio 1. Then some other previously released songs like Dive, which was on this compilation called The Grunge Years by Sub Pop. A great compilation. I used to have that CD as well that had like lots of different artists like Tad and many others. Then the song Stain, that was on an EP in '89. A couple cover songs, a Turnaround, a Devil cover, Molly's Lips, and Son of a Gun covers originally by the Vaselines. And these were also on an EP called Hormoning, released in 1992, but only released in Japan and Australia. And three more songs, Mexican Seafood, that was like another one that was on a compilation. Beeswax, that was another one from a compilation. And Downer, which was a bonus track on the Bleach album from 1989. Lots of stuff. This is just it's an album. I'm going to call it an album, and I used to listen to it all the time. So that is all. I will be back with 1993 sometime next week, early next week, or whenever. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back again.